The anime starts with a young girl named Reiko, praying to a great evil dragon named Revendia. She asks for his help in defeating the demon lord and offers her life in exchange, believing that Revendia will consume her. However, Revendia, a herbivorous and peaceful dragon, is taken aback and tries to calm her down. He explains that he doesn't eat meat and shows her the plants and fruits he prefers. Despite his explanations, Reiko is insistent, even suggesting that he try her meat. Revendia becomes distressed, telling her that she would die if he ate her. Reiko, prepared for this outcome, believes it would be an honor to be eaten by him. Revendia, crying, reflects on the misconceptions the outside world has about him. He has lived for 5,000 years without harming any humans or animals and is not affiliated with the demon lord. Reiko reveals she has no parents and was sent to him as a sacrifice by her village, who will kill her if she returns. Threatening to take her own life, she pulls out a knife. Revendia, unable to let her harm herself and sensing magical power in her, concocts a plan. He tells her he has devoured her soul, a feat he claims high-ranking dragons can do without killing. He plans to take her to the village and explain the situation, hoping to resolve it peacefully. Reiko, believing her soul is consumed, declares herself Revendia's disciple. He ignores this and takes her to the village on his back, causing fear among the animals and villagers due to his appearance. Revendia hopes for a warm welcome but is met with fear and hostility, with the villagers armed and ready to confront him. Revendia tries to stay calm when confronting the villagers, despite feeling like a loser. The village head greets him, and Revendia, in a scary tone, questions if they sent Reiko as an offering. He explains that he has devoured Reiko's soul and warns against sending more sacrifices. To ensure Reiko's safety, he tells the villagers to treat her well and offers to help them defeat the demon lord. A tense moment arises when someone throws a rock at Revendia, causing him to scream. However, he turns this into a roar to maintain his fearsome image. A boy named Riot confronts Revendia for eating Reiko's soul and attempts to hit him, but the villagers stop him. Reiko intervenes, threatening Riot and claiming that Revendia could kill her easily. Riot reveals a village secret. He was originally chosen to be sacrificed, but Reiko was sent in his place because he was the heir. He criticizes the villagers for sacrificing an innocent girl, arguing that such a village deserves to perish. Suddenly, dark wolves attack the village, surrounding Revendia, who becomes terrified. Reiko, displaying unexpected magical power, fights off the wolves, believing she's empowered by Revendia.
Dude, I just looked up the thing he was talking about. That's true. That's like 100%. Everything he said was true.
She defeats them using a deadly attack she thinks is a fraction of Revendia's power, although he is confused as he did not assist her. After the battle, the villagers celebrate Revendia with a party and dance. Revendia requests to speak with Riot, which scares the old man. Despite Riot's disbelief in Revendia's peaceful intentions, Reiko prepares to defend Revendia, revealing that Riot used to help her escape the village and provide her with clothes. She believes Riot did want to rob her of the chance to be sacrificed for Revendia. Reiko puts on clothes made by Riot, imbued with Eastern witchcraft, and climbs onto Revendia's back. She urges him to fly to the demon lord to defeat him. Revendia, who doesn't know how to fly, is aided by Reiko's new spell, Wings of Darkness, which enables him to take flight. As they head to confront the demon lord, Revendia suggests forming a team first. They arrive at Paleo Donaire, a city under attack by monsters. Reiko uses her newfound powers to defeat the attackers. The soldiers in the city recognize Revendia as Dragonlord. The city's leader, General Ariante, asks for their help. Reiko boasts about Revendia's power, exaggerating his abilities. Revendia instructs Reiko to destroy the aerial monsters, which she does using her powers. He advises the general that the monsters are likely being controlled from a high vantage point. Following his advice, the soldiers target a tower and succeed in their mission. Meanwhile, Reiko, exhausted from her efforts, falls asleep beside Revendia. He shelters her from the rain with his wings. General Ariante returns, thanking Revendia for his help. Revendia reveals that Reiko is not his disciple and her powers are her own, suggesting she stay in the city to become a wizard. The conversation takes a turn when General Ariante questions Revendia's motives. Revendia shares his story, insisting he's not part of the Demon King's army but just a vegan loser dragon. Skeptical, Ariante, who is loyal to the Demon Lord, attacks Revendia. Reiko wakes up and joins the fight but struggles against Ariante's superior combat skills and depleted magical power. Ariante predicts and blocks Reiko's attacks and eventually overpowers her, causing Reiko to lose consciousness after a fierce exchange. Ariante continues her fight with Revendia. She attacks him with a special sword that inflicts pain but doesn't cause physical damage. After a series of attacks, Revendia is left exhausted and defeated on the ground. Ariante then reveals that she was only testing him to verify his truthfulness and that she is not a swordsman of the Demon Lord. This revelation brings relief but also frustration to Revendia due to the mental strain of the fight. Ariante advises Revendia to keep his weakness a secret to protect himself from potential threats. She also suggests he convince Reiko that the entire ordeal was just a dream, as she looks up to him. The next morning, Reiko is surprised to find Revendia shrunken in size. Ariante had given him a potion to reduce his size to make him more manageable. Revendia tells Reiko that he shrunk to prevent cervical spondylosis, and she naively believes him. They continue their journey through a forest, with Reiko still puzzled by her dream. Meanwhile, Riot arrives in Paleo Donaire and is in search of Revendia. A near accident brings him into contact with Ariante, who impresses him with her skills. He requests her to be his master, and she begins his rigorous training. Revendia and Reiko take a rest under a tree when they are discovered by bandits who plan to sell Reiko and exploit Revendia as a talking dragon. Reiko seeks permission to use her powers, but Revendia initially advises against violence. However, when the bandits threaten them, he allows her to use a limited amount of her power. Reiko's intervention results in the bandits surrendering. They lead Reiko and Revendia to their cave, where several captives are held. The captives are released, and Reiko takes the bandits to a nearby prison to turn themselves in. Revendia goes into a cave to find his favorite mosses for food but accidentally falls into a tunnel, leading him underground. There, he encounters a ghost, who he initially fears and runs away from, despite the ghost's warnings about nearby traps. After narrowly escaping a trap, the ghost calms Revendia down and feeds him. The ghost reveals that he is the god of hunting, who descended to Earth long ago to teach humanity hunting skills. Over time, as humans mastered hunting, they forgot about him. He expresses a desire to teach hunting again but laments the lack of students. Sympathizing with him, Revendia agrees to become his student. The god of hunting is thrilled to have a student and claims he can make Revendia an excellent hunter in 3 hours. However, Revendia struggles with various aspects of the training, including physical exercises, balance, archery, and combat, due to his physical limitations and the training being designed for humans. The final part of the training involves dodging obstacles with explosives attached. As Revendia attempts this, he starts growing back to his original size because the effects of the medicine that shrank him wear off. This causes the bombs to explode, and the training fails. The god of hunting, distraught at failing to train Revendia, bestows dark magical powers onto him, instructing him not to mention their encounter to others. Exhausted from the training, Revendia then falls asleep. In the morning, Revendia wakes up to find Reiko, who tells him about a city named Suleiman she discovered. Reiko suggests that Revendia should capture the city and rule over it, but he declines. As they approach Suleiman, a magical barrier controlled by the Water Saint stops them. The Water Saint, recognizing Revendia as the evil dragon, warns him against entering the city. However, Reiko uses her magic to temporarily subdue the Water Saint, allowing them to enter. Inside Suleiman, Revendia decides to disguise himself as a circus dragon, a plan initially resisted by Reiko but eventually accepted. This approach makes the city's inhabitants more comfortable with their presence. They learn about the city's history. It was once a desert until the Water Saint provided water, enabling people to settle there. Revendia and Reiko stay in a hotel, where Revendia leaves Reiko to learn patience while he searches for the Water Saint to clear up any misunderstandings. Despite the Saint's efforts to hide, Revendia consistently finds her. Eventually, the Water Saint encounters Revendia with some children and, mistakenly believing he's a threat, challenges him to a fight. Revendia, however, only asks for her help to return to his hotel, revealing he recognizes her true identity. The Water Saint escorts him back to the hotel, asking him to leave the city the next day. Revendia returns to his room to find Reiko trying to practice patience as instructed. They prepare to sleep, with Revendia sleeping on the floor as the human bed is unsuitable for him. Reiko joins him on the floor. Meanwhile, a shiny armored dragon and a ghost-like creature are seen planning to attack the city by breaking the barrier. The next morning, the Water Saint, disguised as a service girl, visits their room. Reiko reacts aggressively, knocking her down. The saint suggests they leave soon and presents them with leftover children's vegetables from the garbage. Upset by the offering, Reiko again lashes out, causing the saint to flee. Revendia reprimands Reiko for her aggressive use of power and instructs her to only use her powers on his command or in self-defense. Revendia suggests that Reiko should play with the children of Suleiman. Initially hesitant, she agrees and joins them in their games. Meanwhile, Revendia goes to speak with the Water Saint to resolve their misunderstanding. However, as he leaves his room, he unexpectedly finds himself drowning in water. The Water Saint has created a trap, submerging him to potentially end both their lives. While Reiko is playing with the children, the city is suddenly attacked by the armored dragon. Reiko encounters the armored dragon and insists on playing with him, much to his confusion. The people of Suleiman secretly watch this interaction, astonished by the girl's bravery and assuming the dragon might be her pet. The armored dragon, feeling insulted by being compared to humans and eager to maintain his dignity as a member of the demon army, decides to teach Reiko a lesson. However, the situation escalates as Reiko, displaying remarkable strength, lifts and throws the armored dragon around, treating him like a ball. The dragon, furious and charged with electricity, prepares to attack the humans with a lightning ball. Reiko continues to engage with the dragon, further shocking and bewildering him with her power. Meanwhile, Revendia is captured underwater by the Water Saint, struggling to breathe. The intense magic battle between Reiko and the armored dragon creates a shockwave felt by the Water Saint, causing a giant wave. Both the saint and Revendia fall from a height, screaming in surprise. In a desperate attempt to save himself, Revendia unintentionally creates a black bubble in the sea, which transforms into a duck-like shape and helps him survive. The Water Saint, appearing on the wave, angrily confronts Revendia, still believing him to be evil. Revendia finds himself transformed by a duck-shaped bubble into a balloon-like entity, flying in the air. The Water Saint, frustrated by his apparent escape tactics, urges him to return and fight. Revendia is surprised by his own survival, which he owes to the powers bestowed upon him by the hunter god. The Water Saint, determined to capture Revendia, uses her power to create a cage of water from the entire city's water supply, trapping him. Unable to escape, Revendia considers relying on his magical claws, but the hunter god, appearing from them, advises him not to depend on external help continuously. The hunter god, present in a cave, emphasizes that he has already aided Revendia twice and will not assist a third time, urging him to rely on his own abilities. Meanwhile, the Water Saint, suspecting another trick, intensifies the power of the water cage, weakening the communication with the hunter god. She also begins to drain Revendia's magic power, inadvertently deactivating the magic that kept him small. As a result, Revendia returns to his giant size, breaking the cage due to his enlarged form. This unexpected transformation leads to an explosion in the water, causing distress for the Water Saint, who realizes she can no longer contain Revendia. Revendia, who has managed to escape from the water cage, is then drawn to the side of the Water Saint in distress. She expresses her feelings of inadequacy, lamenting that despite being a demon, she hasn't been able to protect anyone in Celiana. She contemplates joining the demon army, but Revendia reassures her, acknowledging her efforts and sacrifices for the people, which make her worthy of the title of a saint. The Water Saint questions Revendia's trust in her, to which he responds affirmatively, expressing his belief in her and emphasizing that he harbors no destructive intentions. This conversation leads the saint to reconsider her view of Revendia, starting to believe he may not be evil. He advises her not to use the town's water for her spells, as it is essential for the people's survival. As Revendia prepares to leave and check on Reiko, he warns the saint not to call him Mr. Lizard in front of her. During this interaction, he notices a dangerous insect, the deaf locust, on her head. Revendia senses something amiss, as such low-rank monsters shouldn't be able to enter a magically protected town like this. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes, with dark blue vibes and a black wave surrounding the saint's body. An evil presence influences her, urging her to embrace her true nature and reveal her real personality, overwhelmed by the voices of monsters. Her eyes turn red as she succumbs to this influence, unleashing a destructive magic that begins to tear apart the town's infrastructure, threatening to drown humanity. Revendia, alarmed by this sudden change, realizes the gravity of the situation. He implores the saint to stop her magic, warning that her actions could bring catastrophic consequences to the entire town. Saint, possessed by a monster, seeks to demolish the city using her water powers. She raises the ground like a pillar, intending to destroy the city to demonstrate her power and teach the people a lesson. However, when she attacks with a pile of soil, the people playfully engage with it, throwing soil balls at each other, considering it sacred. This reaction baffles the saint, who believes they should be fearing for their lives. She then creates a massive mud bowl, intending to lead them to destruction. Revindia, also caught in the mud, is confused and unable to understand the unfolding events. The saint declares the impending doom to the people. In response to this chaos, Revindia calls for Reiko, who leaves the silver dragon she was playing with and rushes to his aid. Reiko effortlessly breaks the saint's mud bowl with a single kick, surprising the saint and causing her to yell in bewilderment. Reiko's presence causes the mud to disappear and a rain of moths to begin. Reiko kneels before Revindia, asking how she can assist him. Revindia, concerned about the potential trouble Reiko could cause with her anger, inquires if she behaved well in his absence. Reiko recounts how she played with the silver dragon, treating it like a ball and smashing it repeatedly. Meanwhile, the saint is upset and weeping on the ground, frustrated that her mud bowl didn't intimidate the humans as she intended. Her eyes still red, Revindia encourages her to share her feelings with him. The saint shares her past experiences with Revindia and Reiko. Initially excited to join the demon region, she faced ridicule and was demeaned as a child, which deeply impacted her self-esteem. While traversing the desert, she encountered thirsty and poor people heading to their destination. Determined to prove her strength and avoid becoming a mockery, she attempted to kill them by manipulating water to attack them. However, her actions unexpectedly turned into rain, bringing joy to the thirsty people. The saint then tried to scare them by bringing up soil from the earth, but this too backfired as the people saw it as a blessing, enabling them to cultivate their fields and avoid starvation. Contrary to her intentions of instilling fear, the people were grateful, praising her as a great saint who brought hope and happiness. This gratitude led to the construction of the city Suleiman, where they transformed a barren place into a flourishing city, worshipping her as a deity. The saint observed the people living happily in the land she provided, which brought her unexpected joy despite her initial intention to harm them. The present-day scene returns with the saint confessing that the people's worship made her forget her demon nature, leading to her feeling unworthy of their love and adoration. A little girl then appears, expressing concern over Revindia's large size and comforting the weeping saint, thanking her for providing the soil that brought happiness. The girl invites the saint to celebrate their happiness before leaving to join her family. This interaction leaves the saint feeling confused and saddened, as her intention was to harm, not help. Reiko approaches the saint and, misunderstanding the situation, tells her that she should be happy for providing the people with the evil dragon. Reiko also remarks that the saint should embrace her identity as a demon. Revindia, realizing Reiko's comments might be hurtful, apologizes on her behalf and advises the saint to ignore Reiko's words. He reassures the saint, emphasizing that people will remember her for her deeds, not her origins, and questions whether she wants to be a demon who harms or a saint who protects. While Revindia is comforting the saint, Reiko gets annoyed by his actions. When Saint opens her eyes again, she returns to her normal form. Meanwhile, the evil demon residing within the saint notices Revindia and Reiko and becomes disillusioned, eventually leaving the saint. The evil demon then enters Revindia through his hand. Revindia feels something strange inside him as the demon tries to incite him to embrace his evil nature. Confused by these internal struggles, Revindia looks around but only sees children playing a game where one pretends to be a demon king. Reiko observes this and realizes why Revindia wanted her to play with the children, to understand human nature and their perspectives. However, she misinterprets the situation, thinking the town is absurd for worshipping the saint and ignoring the evil dragon. Revindia is left contemplating Reiko's unique and often misguided perspective on the situation. Revindia reflects on his need to better understand Reiko's mind, while Reiko suggests leaving the city as she believes an evil dragon like Revindia shouldn't rule it. Despite his love for the city and its people, Revindia feels responsible for the troubles he has caused and agrees to leave. However, as they prepare to depart, the saint stops them, inquiring about their secretive departure. Reiko, growing agitated, is about to react aggressively, but Revindia calms her down. The saint expresses her desire for them to stay and join the upcoming festival in her honor. She mentions that the children would be disappointed if they missed the animal shows, hinting at her own reluctance to see them leave. She vows to her people to prevent further sadness, pleading with Revindia and Reiko to stay until the festival concludes. Reiko initially refuses to stay, but Revindia, understanding the situation's delicacy, persuades her to agree, citing their unfinished tasks in the city. Reiko reluctantly consents to remain in the city with Revendia. Meanwhile, an evil demon struggles to uncover Revendia's dark side, finding it unusually well hidden. The demon is impressed by Revendia's ability to conceal his evil nature and feels embarrassed for not recognizing such a powerful dragon earlier. Meanwhile, a member of the Adventurers Guild arrives in the city to check if anything unusual has happened. He is responsible for informing the guild about any significant occurrences. The old man he speaks with insists that everything is peaceful in the city, which is known for its tranquility. However, the guild member notices signs of recent damage and repairs on the road, indicating that something significant did occur. The old man explains that the destruction was caused by a girl playing with a dragon, which surprises the guild member, given the rarity of friendly dragons. He records this information in his diary and inquires about Revendia's whereabouts. The scene shifts to the Silver Dragon, who is upset because he feels disrespected by the people, despite being a general in the King of the Demons' army. He contemplates crushing the humans but remembers being effortlessly handled by the little girl, Reiko. This memory makes him want to behave as a good dragon to avoid being thrown around by her again. However, he oscillates between anger and fear, struggling to decide whether to embrace his evil nature or maintain a more benign demeanor. As the Adventurer Guild member observes the Silver Dragon, the old man dismisses Dragon's odd behavior as rehearsal for the upcoming festival. The guild member, sensing that the situation is more complex than it appears, decides to report his observations to the guild, believing there might be more to the story than what's being shared. Meanwhile, Riot is undergoing rigorous training with Ariante, who pushes him to move a large stone. During a training break, they notice a crowd and discover a poster depicting a dragon in the city of Suleiman. Riot, believing this dragon to be evil, becomes determined to save Reiko from it. Ariante, however, is skeptical about Revendia being evil and cautions Riot against rushing into action, emphasizing his incomplete training. Meanwhile, Revendia and Reiko are in the city. Reiko, feeling hungry, asks to buy food, and Revendia tells her to queue like everyone else. While she is away, Revendia, also hungry, attempts to eat grass but is left disappointed when it runs out. A little girl observing him offers him grass, mistaking him for a trained sheep. As Reiko returns, Revendia scrambles to maintain his disguise, leading Reiko to think she is hallucinating from exhaustion when she sees a sheep instead of Revendia. Meanwhile, the evil demon inside Revendia discovers his dark side and encourages him to embrace it, recalling an incident where Revendia consumed all the fruits in an area, leaving none for others. In his dark form, Revendia confronts sheep for grass, but they easily fend him off. The demon is surprised by Revendia's focus on such a trivial matter. After the scuffle, Revendia reverts to his original form, and the girl apologizes for not giving him grass. She suggests he find more outside the town, mentioning a giant dragon that didn't eat it all. This mention of another dragon catches Revendia's attention. Revendia, observing the Silver Dragon's odd behavior, wonders if this is the same dragon that Reiko played with. A little girl informs him that after playing with Reiko, the Silver Dragon has been acting strangely around the city. The girl, mistaking Revendia for an associate of the Silver Dragon, leaves excitedly to watch a show. Revendia, believing there is a misunderstanding involving Reiko, decides to confront the Silver Dragon. He approaches him, mentioning the conflict with Reiko and expressing his intent to have her apologize. However, the mention of Reiko's name infuriates the Silver Dragon, who contemplates revenge. Revendia, fearing an attack, pleads for forgiveness and tries to calm the Silver Dragon down. In a surprising turn, the Silver Dragon, instead of attacking, embraces Revendia, asking him to play. This behavior leads Revendia to believe that Reiko's actions have driven the Silver Dragon mad. As he tries to comfort him, an evil black shadow penetrates the Silver Dragon. This shadow, embodying the Silver Dragon's inner darkness, scolds him for succumbing to humans and manipulates his thoughts, transforming him into a monstrous version of himself. Influenced by an evil demon, declares himself the ruler of the sky and wind, his eyes turning red with anger. Revendia, initially not taking the Silver Dragon seriously, soon realizes the severity of the situation when he sees the red eyes and aggressive behavior, indicating a complete personality change. As the Silver Dragon prepares to attack with a blue energy orb, Revendia, now fearful, calls out for Reiko for help. Hearing his call, Reiko rushes to the scene, arriving slightly late. Upon regaining consciousness, the Silver Dragon recognizes Reiko as the girl who effortlessly threw him around earlier, realizing her extraordinary strength. The evil spirit within the Silver Dragon regrets not choosing Reiko initially, seeing her as a more suitable vessel for his plans. The Silver Dragon, intent on revenge, decides to attack Reiko, but she skillfully dodges his assaults, leaving him exhausted. The evil demon, attempting to regain control, urges the Silver Dragon to submit to him. As Reiko prepares to throw the Silver Dragon, an evil shadow penetrates her body, but instead of succumbing, her dark side, represented by a blue light, devours the evil shadow. This surprising turn of events reveals the immense and intense power Reiko possesses, capable of overpowering dark forces. The scene then shifts to a flashback of Reiko as a child, witnessing her father with a demon. Reiko struggles to control herself as she is possessed by her dark side, with her eyes reflecting a mix of black and light blue. Her body emanates blue lightning, and a massive explosion occurs around her. Ariante arrives on horseback to investigate the situation, while Revendia emerges from the ground, criticizing Reiko for causing such destruction. The saint also arrives, inquiring about the powerful wave of energy. Revendia is caught in a tornado, while Reiko, surrounded by blue lightning, floats in the air. Ariante grabs Revendia, expressing her fear that Reiko has become a demon. She observes that Reiko's blue light has disappeared, leaving her with only demonic powers. Reiko's basic instincts are revealed to be demonic, aggravated by the demon that has taken over her body. The saint, noticing Reiko's threatening behavior, is perplexed by her desire to kill her despite the saint's loyalty to the evil dragon. Ariante also remarks on the saint's sacrifice to save the city and asks her to protect everyone from Reiko. The inhabitants of the city, witnessing Reiko's monstrous transformation, label her a monster. In a terrifying display, Reiko hurls a massive stone at the people, which Ariante intercepts with her sword, urging everyone to move to safety. The terrified Revendia initially feels reassured by Ariante's presence, but she soon flees, admitting she cannot face the overwhelming forces. Despite suggestions to leave for his safety, Revendia hesitates, unwilling to abandon Reiko in her suffering. A flashback shows Revendia apologizing to Reiko for not protecting her, but in the present, Revendia regains consciousness to find Reiko struggling with her inner demon, surrounded by a vast circle of blue lightning. The saint watches in horror, transforming into water out of fear. Ariante formulates a plan to confront Reiko's demonic transformation. She uses Revendia as a shield, dodging lightning bolts. Despite Revendia's protests, Ariante believes this plan can awaken Reiko's humanity. Revendia, used as a weapon against Reiko, is skeptical of Ariante's strategy but is nonetheless hurled towards Reiko. Reiko responds with a laser attack, but Revendia remains unharmed due to a protective water barrier created by the saint. The plan fails as Revendia is swept away by the wind. Ariante then devises a new strategy, contemplating sacrificing the saint to counter Reiko's demonic powers. This plan requires moving the city's inhabitants to safety, further adding to the tension and urgency of the situation. Revendia notices Reiko in pain. He catches a red ribbon falling from her and resolves to return to his original size, believing this will make him less susceptible to being blown away by the wind. He devises a plan to rescue Reiko from her torment. Ariante, realizing the gravity of the situation, calls her horse with a whistle. As they lack a plane, they decide to rely on Revendia's plan. Ariante instructs everyone to prepare to move to another city if their efforts fail. The group also calls for additional help to stop Reiko. The horse, strong enough to carry them, is enlisted in their escape plan. Revendia asks the saint for assistance, and she uses her water powers on him. This action helps remove the magic that has been preventing Revendia from returning to his original size. In the midst of this, Reiko, driven by her demonic powers, launches an attack. Ariante bravely steps in to shield the others, using her sword to deflect Reiko's attacks. Despite Reiko's immense power, Ariante persistently counters her assaults with formidable strength and determination. Revendia successfully transforms back into his original form and halts the saint from further assisting him. He is relieved to see the Silver Dragon, whose size is ideal for his plan. Revendia directs the horse and the saint to move the Silver Dragon in a specific direction, while Ariante continues to dodge Reiko's frenzied attacks. Despite Ariante's best efforts, Reiko, driven mad by her demonic powers, remains a formidable adversary. The group successfully maneuvers the Silver Dragon as planned, binding him with ropes and moving him towards Reiko. As Revendia approaches Reiko, who is engulfed in lightning, he urges her to regain her consciousness. This moment triggers a flashback to Reiko's childhood, where she questions the hostility towards them and defends her father. Her father reassures her, predicting that someone will come into her life to care for her, and ties her hair with a ribbon. Back in the present, Reiko awakens, free from her demonic possession, and sits on Revindia's hand, the ribbon from her childhood still in her hair. Revindia apologizes for not being able to perfectly tie the ribbon, but Reiko smiles gratefully. Ariante, the saint, and the horse approach them, with Revindia acknowledging the chaos caused by Reiko's powers and prompting her to apologize. The saint downplays the destruction, and the group decides to continue with the festival. Despite the great destruction, the people's resilience and optimism are evident as they prepare to celebrate. Revindia, amazed by the human's ability to face challenges without fear, reflects on his 5,000 years of isolation and how he has never experienced anything like this. He advises Reiko to stay calm during the festival and enjoy it. Reiko, showing deep respect for Revindia, considers declaring his authority in the city after the festival, but Revindia dismisses the idea, still troubled by his reputation as an evil dragon. And that's the end of our video. To see more, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.